Mike Borden and I are going to drive this presentation. My name is Jesse Bird, and I'm the CTO here at TCN. Been at TCN for what feels like ever. We've been around for a long time. I like to think that TCN no longer needs an introduction, but the longer I'm around, the more often I think that we do. But we are one of the largest providers of contact center services and software into the debt collections world. We have a strong emphasis in compliance, and we've been around for a long time doing this through a lot of different iterations of different government oversight and regulation. Unfortunately, almost all of it tightening. So we've been all over the world. We have customers all over the world, and we successfully deploy our software all over the world. We really view our software in these six areas, and I think that we're going to focus mostly on compliance and data management today. But I just want to give you a view that TCN has a pretty wide offering of products. The current Reg F challenge is, 7 attempts in 7 days per debt versus per person. We've consent management, consent preferences, handling data for disparate sources, marrying that data. All of this has kind of been talked on today, and really the point is, it's the soup du jour of the day. This is not what's going to be tomorrow, and it's not what was yesterday. And so when you evaluate solutions and systems, you got to remember that it does need to be configuration, not code. And it also needs to be flexible, because the CFPB does nothing if they don't like to put the target on legs and make it move. And so we want to empower you to see what's possible. We build solutions that are flexible, so that you can solve the challenges of today and the challenges of tomorrow. That's what we really, really want to do. And we want to make it so that you can keep up, and not only keep up, but stay ahead of that moving target. To this end, I think some of the tools that we're going to go over is our natural language compliance, which is a tool that provides flexibility around how you build your compliance rules, how you build your rules for contact. And we call it natural language because it's human readable. You can understand what your rules are supposed to do. I know that we really succeeded with this tool when we had rules that were pulled directly from the system and approved by a compliance officer at one of our customers. And this is the idea, is that operators and compliance officers, your floor managers, all kind of have a unified understanding of what that view is. And then managing different data and different warehousing and reporting is all part of it. So you can use TCN to solve Reg F in a really flexible and a really straightforward way. State and federal, client-specific, account-specific, and there's just a lot of options and a lot of flexibility. And so we're not going to show you everything that's possible, but I'm hoping that we can give you a window into what is possible, so that you can see the flexibility and the empowerment that you can have as an operator to really stay ahead of these rules. So anyways, these are some of the rules that maybe we will go over. And again, I don't really want to belabor the point, because I'm not one to use two words when one word will do, but I want to emphasize that what I hope you get out of this is an idea of what is possible. Not actually the rules for today, and not actually the rules for yesterday, but as you can look out into the future a little bit and see that the regulators are going to continue to move the target, and how are you going to stay ahead of it? So with that, I think Mike will jump into a demo.
Great, thanks, Jesse. So Jesse explained what TCN wants to do. I'm going to give you a little bit of idea of how we plan on doing that. So within the TCN system, we have different parts: natural language compliance, our list management services that Jesse mentioned. And I'm going to start with that. Our list management services allows you to ingest data from the client in pretty much any format you want, with whatever data you have available. And you can filter based on that data. You can keep track of what's occurring with that data, and you can utilize that to send appropriate records to the TCN system. So here we see we can get data into our list management services either through a manual upload, through an SFTP, even from previous TCN data sources back into this service here. And this list management services allows you to enrich the data, allows you to filter the data, allows you to then export that data. The enrichments that we can provide are things along the lines of keeping track. How many times have we called this account number in the past 30 days, in the past 14 days, in the past 7 days? Even regulate it down to what were those results. Was it canceled because it had been called too many times? Maybe we don't count that towards this frequency. Was it a live person? Was it a no answer? Was it any type of attempt? We can count that towards this frequency. You can also include dispositions. So anything that the agent enters into the database can be reported back to you and can be utilized by the TCN system for those regulations. We can also enrich the data just based on comparing to lists that you have previously uploaded. So within our compliance suite, we have lists that you can load account numbers, you can load phone numbers, you can load consent data, and you can compare the incoming data within TCN to what you've already loaded. Now, you could load your entire database every day. You could load just the changes. You could maybe just load a subset of the people you plan on calling that day. And since you are getting the data into TCN from your software, from your CRM, anything you have there can be given to us, and then you can enact functionality based on that. So if you have the ability to control who consents within your software, maybe you just send us that final list. But if you simply have the ability to have a field that's marked consented or not, you can still get that to TCN and you can use that field to filter out your files. You can use it as simply as including where the consent is equal to true. And this field is completely customizable. Any value you want to use, you can put in there. Any name of field you can put in there. You can even drill it down a little more. You can include for this file anywhere where their expiration is after 7 and before 8. So you can have your hour by hour files, morning files, afternoon files, all controlled to fit into what the request of the customer is. Now, this data, as I said, can come into TCN. It can also go out to TCN. It can also go out to, let's say, your SFTP server. So if you needed to bring in a record or a list of 10, 20, 100,000 records, get the consent file that is sent to TCN for calling or emailing or texting, you can then get the inverse. You can get all the ones that you thought were good today but do not fit in your regulations back out to your server. So you can get a report of what's happening on every record, even if it's not called or text or emailed. Now, this is the filtering process. This is your ability to take a big file and make it smaller. We also have our natural language compliance suite that allows you to limit the communications. Now, these are the rules that I have set for mostly calling. Deny calls before 8 or 9. Deny calls more than 7 times in 7 days. And you can just be very high level there and just blanket it at that, and that will be based on the phone number. You can also go a little more granular and say, I want to base it on 7 times in 7 days, but based on the specific results. So again, there may be some things that you load up to the system that are not actually called. There may be some things that you don't consider a contact or an attempt. You can have the ability to control them through this compliance suite. And since you have to determine if you're going to base it on the debtor, the person, the account as a whole, you can even reference data that you load to TCN in these rules. So you can be very generic. You can say, I just need to have 7 times in 7 days. You can be a little more specific. I need to call 8 times in 14 days based on these results in this account number. Or you can even be just completely away with the account and the results and say, I just need to limit 3 times in 7 days in the state of Massachusetts. Or I want to make sure I don't call before 11 a.m. in the state of California. Our compliance suite allows you to upload the records and initiate those contacts either through email or text or calling and limit who gets those calls based on what TCN has done. So your list management services can be based on your data. Everything you contain in your software, you can tell TCN what to do with it. Or you can even say, TCN, you just keep track of what you're doing and you control yourself. Now, we can utilize our system results. We can also utilize agent information. So if the agent were making a call, whether it be a manual call, whether it be they handled an inbound call, whether it be an outbound call on one of our different types of platforms, they can take those calls and all that data is available to you. All that data is housed within TCN and all that data can be used with TCN. Also similar to the fact that they can choose what type of consent, so you can get that in a report. They can choose the call outcome, so you can get that in a report. And then you can ingest that back to your software You can utilize that within the TCN platform, or you can just limit everything that you need to. Now, as Jesse mentioned, these rules are easily changed. These rules can be modified. And as regulations go, we know that they will need to be. So this is not a hard set, definitive setting. This is up to you to make up as you go with the help of TCN.